time to change the cooking game. This will be the easiest salmon that you'll ever make. Welcome to T-shirt cooking. Today we'll be making my staple salmon and veggie recipe, and I'll show you guys how to make it in the easiest way possible. Straight to the ingredients: salt and pepper, garlic and onion powder, olive oil, frozen string beans, cooked white rice, and a 200-gram piece of salmon. We preheat the oven to convection bake at 325 for 12 minutes. We take our salmon, and the first thing we do is we try to remove that weird film of liquid. We place it on a tray lined with parchment paper, add all 4 seasonings. Don't be shy with the garlic and onion powder. We add some olive oil on top and it's good to go. We warm up a pan with a lid and add about a cup of water inside. We then throw in some frozen string beans and add the lid and let that cook for a while with the lid on top. Let the steam cook the vegetables. The rice cooker on the right can be seen doing its thing, and the salmon is in the oven on the left. If you're wondering why I look a little bit fat in this video, please note that I filmed this while I was sick and I consumed at least a dozen liters of water that day. After a few minutes of steaming, we bring the string beans over the sink and use the lid to drain the water. We unnecessarily shake the beans and then season the beans with the same 4 spices and olive oil. That footage was lost, but this is what I did here. The salmon is now ready to remove from the oven. Under my armpit, you can see me adding rice to the plate. I then added the salmon on top. Thanks for still sticking around. We've arrived to the time of tasting. Now, as you most likely saw, this is arguably one of the aesthetically displeasing dishes to look at. There's just something about this that nothing here looks good. Not the beans, not the rice, not the salmon. Don't be deceived. This is a very good tasting meal, and this is also quite healthy. Now, of course, if you want to go carb free, there's the option of just not putting rice. You can put more vegetables. If you want to go vegetable and carb free, then you just put the piece of salmon. If you want to go vegan, then you just take out the salmon. So really, I mean, this trifecta here could be used for just about any one of those weird diets that some of you are on. Therefore, using a trifecta of ingredients like this, you could customize it to any one of those niche diets that won't work, whether it be veganism, it be carb-free-inism, or only eating meat-inism. Now, it's very important to note that I made an excess amount of rice and I made an excess amount of veggies. This is because the rice could be put in Tupperware and I put it back in the fridge. Same thing with the veggies. I always make extra because there's no point in me cooking the veggies today and then perhaps maybe cooking them again tomorrow. I'll just cook them today, and tomorrow if I want them again, then I'll just rewarm them up and it's gonna be much easier. Something that I like to do as well is I'll make string beans one day, broccoli the next day, and then I might do one day broccoli, one day string beans, and so forth. So throughout the entire week, I end up getting not necessarily the same meal 2 times in a row. Now, it's important that you don't cook your salmon at high heat, and that's because you want it to be soft on the inside. So when you break it apart, it sort of breaks apart really easily like this. Okay, now it's not breaking apart, but it usually breaks apart really easily. There you go. Now it's breaking apart very easily. And you just don't want it overcooked. It's like how you don't want chicken undercooked, you don't want salmon overcooked. Now I'm going to dig in and take a piece of salmon and perhaps scoop up a little bit of rice. My rice is not dressed, but I'm hoping that some of the flavor of the salmon leaked into the rice. Likely didn't, but I'll just say it did, and maybe it sounds fancy to have sort of like, say that the flavor is like mixed into the rice and all that, and you could just season your rice. I didn't season the rice. I just tasted a scoop of rice, and I think the rice did actually get some of the flavor from the salmon. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it's just a seasoning in the oil. Maybe perhaps I dropped way too much salt on my salmon and that went into the rice, so now my rice has some sort of salty flavor to it. In terms of the veggies, I believe it's no secret by now that string beans is arguably my favorite food. I have string beans maybe 6 to 7 times a week, sometimes for multiple meals a day. It's a staple for me. I buy the big bag of frozen string beans, make a big bunch at a time, and then I consume it a little bit at a time at just about every meal. I've actually had some today for breakfast. What I did to rewarm it up was I just took it out of the fridge, put it in the pan, and we were good to go. So keep in mind that the quad seasoning that you want is salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. I use that for my veggies, and I use that even for broccoli and for other veggies, for peppers as well. If you wish, you could also add some butter. I didn't add butter. I don't know if anybody has seen the price of butter lately. We're not adding butter, not in this house. It's not about whether I can afford or I can't afford to buy butter. It's whether or not I'm willing to demonstrate the willingness to spend that amount on that product. Because then if I demonstrate the willingness on the supply and demand, I'm increasing demand, and we don't want that. We want to decrease demand and increase supply so they could drop those prices. Remember guys, when budgeting for food, a lot of what I buy here, this salmon was a big piece I cut up into a bunch of pieces and I used a food saver to sort of vacuum seal it. The rice, I just make a big bulk amount at a time. And I also have a rice cooker that was gifted to me by my younger cousin. And the veggies, I buy a really big bag at Costco and I make a little bit at a time. This is very important because if you want to have salmon meals with veggies and rice just about every day like I do, whether it be chicken, whether it be other kinds of meat, it does start to add up and get very expensive. But it's also important to not always eat takeout and to not always get Uber Eats or Skip or whatever any of those other companies are. Please cook at home. There's way too many horizontally challenged people around right now. It's becoming like a pandemic. Maybe I'm just noticing it more, but I mean, there's just so many people now that are either horizontally challenged or they have dirty teeth. I don't know what's going on right now, but we need to fix this. So we'll fix things one at a time. We'll start with eating more vegetables and eating homemade meals, and perhaps we'll work on the cleaning of the teeth at another point in the future. Remember guys, don't forget to like and sub if you want to see me fix that door handle.